Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Would you trust me more because I'm dressed like this? Take a second and think about it, because this is exactly what's happening every single day on social media, in business, on stages, and even in boardrooms. People are being trusted, followed, and paid because they look the part, not because they've done the work. And eventually, the gap shows up. It might not be immediate, but at some point, the truth will reveal itself. Today, we're going to talk about the cost of looking the part without actually doing the work, and why, if you are building anything that's supposed to last, this is going to catch up with you. This is not about appearance. It's about a misalignment. But let's first talk about why appearance works. Let's start with the reality. Appearance has always worked. It's from the history of time. If someone looks a certain way, presents themselves a certain way, people typically believe they have a certain amount of credibility, or they're drawn to them, or maybe they fear them. A lot of things can come up from that. So research from Princeton University shows people form first impressions in as little as 1/10 of a second. That's before you speak. As soon as people look at you, they come to some kind of conclusion. So before you demonstrate anything, before you promise anything, before you prove anything, they've already made a decision. So when you walk into a room, or let's say you're a content creator and you go live on camera, people have already made a decision about you. You've already made a decision about me. Now layer that with what we see today. According to LinkedIn data, professionals who invest in their personal brands, their appearance, their content, and their positioning are significantly more likely to be perceived as credible and influential. There's the key there: perceived, not proven. This, my friends, is where the problem starts. There is a gap between the image and the actual substance that the person brings. So these are two tracks that are happening simultaneously. The first track is how you look. And the second one is, what can you actually do? So when these two are aligned, when they come together, that is when you build trust. According to the Harvard Business Review, credibility is built on two things. The first is competence and trust, not appearance. So if your image is high and you invest a lot of time and money in your image, but your competence level hasn't caught up to it, you have created a gap. And this gap can be very expensive. Have you ever heard of the expression, an empty suit? The person is nothing but an empty suit. The person is nothing but a pretty face. And obviously, these are very judgmental statements, but we are humans and we are judgmental. So I'm sure you've seen one or two of these. The expert who really sounds polished, but when it comes to the Q&A section, they can't answer a direct question. Well, let me think about it. Well, let me get back to you. And while that is a good tool to use if you don't know the answer, if you're an expert, one would think that you would have some answers. This speaker who looks absolutely incredible on the stage, but you leave the session with nothing memorable. Or the business owner who everything is perfect, all the branding is perfect, but they don't have any repeat clients. This is the gap. And the bigger the gap, the faster the collapse. So, what is the real cost? We're talking today about the long game. And you see this image behind me. It is a curved and winding road. It is the long game. When you decide you're going to go into business, have you decided that it's something that you're really investing the time in? Many people will get caught up with doing these types of things. They get their domain name, they get their website, and let us not forget the business cards. They get the business cards, and then maybe they start to do some advertising in local magazines, or maybe someone reaches out to them and says, hey, I'll feature you in this segment. And they're super excited, but yet they haven't actually built anything. They haven't thought through the process of what is the value they're going to bring. Maybe they have a great idea for a product and they haven't done any market research. They don't even know what else is out there. They don't know what is the value that this product or service is going to fill. But they look great. They went out and they bought a whole new wardrobe. They've got spiffy clothes and they've got maybe even a really phenomenal pen, one of those special pens that you're going to use for something. But there's nothing going on after people get through the front door. It's almost like you walk into a business, everything that you see is pristine. It's in a great location. They've got the name on the marquee. They've got nice wide parking spaces. Maybe they've got special water that they're offering. And yet you go and sit down with the owner or somebody who's there with them, and there's nothing of value that you want to pay for. So the image that you're presenting, while it may be effective for a certain amount of time, at some point you're going to actually have to deliver something. And so maybe it's the chicken and the egg. Maybe it's coming up with what the value is before you invest in the image, because the cost of all of this is not just embarrassment. And it's not just perception. It's so much bigger than that. It's opportunity. You only get one opportunity to make a good first impression. So as a business owner, some of you might think, well, you know what, if I don't want to work with them, I'll just work with the next person. When you first start out, how many people are actually knocking on your door saying, I want to buy something, I want to do something? I know for me, as a business owner, I have 2 businesses. It's a tough thing. It's very difficult. You have to show up again and again and again. And whatever it is that you're offering, somebody will try to negotiate with you. They'll try to get something for free. And that's another show that I did about stop giving away your value. So I'm not going to go into that right now. But there is an opportunity cost every time you fail to connect with a potential client. Now, I say this all the time, not everyone is our client. This is a television network that I own. Not everybody is a fan of USA Global TV and radio, although we're getting more and more fans every day, and thank you very much for that. So I always say yet. They're not a fan yet, but we don't have the capacity to individually reach out to every single person in the universe to make a connection. So we have to have something that stands on its own, that's relevant, that we are not the only thing that's tied to this brand, that whatever it is that we're offering, it has true value, so that if we were to remove ourselves from the company, that it could stand on itself, if we have an exit strategy, etc. So what I want you to think about is, before you invest all the time and the money in the look of the business, in the look of the business cards, in how you look, I want you to focus on what is it that you're actually going to be able to deliver. I recently had a conversation with someone who was talking about the fact that they've done exactly what I have just described. And they are actually setting appointments. They have people who want to meet with them for this product or service that they have. And they haven't figured out how to deliver it yet. So they're in a panic stage because they actually have meetings set up. They have people who want to sit down with them and understand, okay, if I buy this product or service from you, how does it get implemented? What does that look like? And they don't know. So they came to me and said, what is it we should do? Should we try to just fluff it and go through the meeting and, we'll get back to you with the answers? Of course not, because you only have that one opportunity to prove that you have value. And so it's a time to regroup. We're so anxious, again, with the road behind me. We've got to get down the road. We can't wait to get to the end of the road, but we're missing the journey along the way. And I have been down this road, and I'm still going down this road as a business owner. I'm still going down this road as a woman in the media industry. It's very complicated and complex. And so we have to always be thinking, what is the value we are going to be able to bring to someone? So what happens when we don't bring this value? It's very simple. We are not invited back to the table again. We're not going to get referrals. And we're not going to be taken seriously in the rooms that matter. And most importantly, and my friends, this is a big one, we lose our internal confidence because at some level, we know. At some level, we know we've been winging it. We know that we should have put more time and effort into the backbone, the foundation of the business, instead of all the glitz and glamour of being a business owner. It is exciting owning businesses, absolutely. But we actually have to stand for something. And so I want you to think about wherever you are in your journey, in the long game. How are you feeling right now? Do you have your internal confidence? Are you proud of doing the work? Because we know whether we've done the work. I want you to think about, for those of you who have been to some type of formal schooling, when you have to take a test, going into the test, I don't have any statistics on this, but if you're unprepared, if you were up all night doing something else, or maybe you were up all night cramming for this test, and you walk in to take that test, and you already know you're not going to do as well as if you had prepared. Now, sometimes it's a miraculous miracle that you actually do well in the test and you know more than you thought because you were paying attention along the way. And that can happen in business too. You could actually be out meeting with the client and maybe not have all the specific answers, but you can tell the backstory of how you built your business, and somebody could be impressed with that or find credibility in that. And then you could even say, you know what, we are still working on XYZ, and we'd love for you to maybe take this journey with us as a beta tester, or maybe as one of our VIP first clients. And as a result, we'll offer you XYZ. That's definitely a possibility. So working on our image is faster than working on our skill. And I'll give an example because I think we can relate to this as humans. We can dress ourselves up the best that we can, but that doesn't mean that we're healthy. That doesn't mean that we're actually taking good care of ourselves. Now, we might have skin that looks good, our eyes might be clear, but in the meantime, we're eating all these foods that are not good for us. We're not sleeping well. We're in a stressful environment. Maybe we're in a relationship that we just can't stand anymore. Maybe we're going to work every day and we can't take it. Maybe we see on social media all these things that just get us upset. But yet somehow we still manage to show up and look good. But yet inside, it's not doing well. And eventually it shows up. And it's the same thing in the long game of having a business. So it's faster for us to buy our outfit, to fix the lighting, to hire a photographer. I'm talking about now people who are in content creation or post content. So let's say you're on Instagram or TikTok or one of these things. How often do we see people who look absolutely phenomenal and we think, oh my gosh, their life has to be amazing. And then we read something about an influencer. How many influencers have died recently? Have you seen that? The number of young people who have actually died. And they look like they had it all together. Or you see these A-list celebrities who are getting paid tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and you think their life is so perfect. And then you find out later it's an absolute wreck. And they were taking movies that they didn't even want to do because they desperately needed the money. But on the outside, everything seemed great. So, what does take more time when it comes to business? First of all, developing expertise. Everybody's a coach. Have you noticed that? At one point, I found some research that there were over 6 million coaches on LinkedIn. Everyone's a coach. Does that mean they're certified? Does that mean they have experience? Absolutely not. But it's a nice word to have. If you think about during the pandemic, how many people that you know became a coach of something? They're a health coach, they're a life coach, they're a fitness coach. We could go on and on, nutritional coach, yoga coach. But yet, did they actually do the work? Maybe they took some classes. Maybe they got a very easy, quick degree. There's a lot of things, a lot of platforms that you can get certified in things. And it reminds me of this, by the way, because I think it's a great time to bring it up. I happen to have a doctorate. That's not bragging. I have a doctorate. I graduated in 2011 as a doctor, Dr. KERBECK, and it was $125,000, and it was 6 years of my life. Now, we know plenty of people who have honorary doctorates. Now, I'm not saying anything to disparage them, but if you think about it, is an honorary doctorate the same as the doctorate that I have? I don't think so, but yet I think there's a place for both. In the one, you have actual sacrifice of time, money, energy, etc. And in the other, you are awarded this or recognized with this for something that you've done in your life or your career. But it wasn't something separate like the road that I took. So that's kind of what I'm talking about today. And again, there's no judgment on anyone. It's slower to develop the expertise. It's slower to practice communication. And communication is so key. Of course, I'm here by myself doing this television show, and there's no one here for me to be having a conversation with. So I'm talking, because if I don't talk, at some point, you will leave. But practicing communication outside of being a TV show host and maybe some other professions is you have to listen. You have to listen more than you speak. And it's slower to fall in a private way, to fail in a private way, than it is in a public way. And it's slower to build real results over time. So we are in a world with all the social media where we are driven by visibility, and speed gets attention. If you think back to, again, the pandemic, there was a time when Clubhouse, the Clubhouse app, was extremely popular. And you could go and be in an audio only room, and you could be sitting next to a celebrity that you had dreamed about meeting your entire life. And there they are in the room with you, and you can actually correspond with them. And today it's very easy to go to Instagram or go to TikTok, and you can actually reach out to somebody that you never could have reached out to before. So visibility is higher than it ever has been. But that doesn't mean that everybody out there who is visible is actually credible. And so I want you to take away from this show that building credibility takes time. And although we want to rush it, we want to forge ahead to the end, we don't actually know where the end is. because the road again is winding, it's shifting. And so opportunities present themselves. And as long as you're doing the work, meaning you are staying relevant, you're attending trainings, you are gaining more and more knowledge. Why? So that you can be valuable to your clients. The moment you stop being valuable is the moment they're going to start looking somewhere else. And if you're not trying to help your clients, your customers achieve something that they wouldn't be able to achieve by themselves, maybe it's time to look at doing something else. Because in the blink of an eye, we can be replaced. And so if you have attained the highest level of achievement that you feel you can in your field, that doesn't mean that somebody can't knock you off your pillar. We've seen it happen over and over again in corporate America. What used to be relevant is no longer relevant. Look at the technology industry. Look at where things were 50 years ago versus where they are today. Look at the invention of email that didn't exist. And now nobody even gives it a second thought. And so now we have artificial intelligence that many people are up in arms about. What's the end of the world? No, it's not. It's just another evolution. And so if you're not familiarizing yourself with all of these opportunities, you will get left behind. Now, does that mean that you should let your image go or your branding go? Absolutely not. You still have to stay on top of that as well. So it is not an easy road, and being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. Research from the University of California, LA, shows that consistency and substance, not surface level signals, are what build lasting trust in relationships and communications. So if you're building for the long game, you can't take shortcuts. I know we love shortcuts. And again, I want to go back to health scenarios because this is something that is common to all of us, that we have one body that we have to take care of. We can take shortcuts, but in the long run, the shortcuts are going to show up. And although none of us are guaranteed any certain amount of years on life, and none of us are guaranteed a life that doesn't have pain, there's research that shows by doing certain things, the likelihood of your suffering is probably less. But by taking shortcuts in business, it will typically come back to haunt us in the end. By not doing the right thing, by deciding to look the other way and pretend it's not happening, it will potentially come back to bite us. So I want to talk now, the last part of our show, about alignment. What does it look like when we have alignment with the image and then the credibility? So when we look the part and we can also deliver, imagine that. You ask a question and the person answers with depth. You challenge someone and instead of them getting intimidated, they respond with clarity. You bring them into a room, you refer them to someone, and they take that and they elevate it to the next level. That, my friends, is alignment. So here's the standard. This external presentation, whatever it is for you, it should match your internal capability, not exceed it and not lower it. Because when your image is running ahead of your substance, you're now creating pressure. And when your substance is running ahead of your image, you're creating power. So that is where you want to be. If you're watching this and you're thinking about your next move, your next show, your next client, your next opportunity, ask yourself this question. Am I building something that looks good, or am I building something that lasts? For any of you out there who love to cook, have you ever cooked something It's magnificent. You feel like you've created a masterpiece, or maybe you're baking something and then you dig into it, like, oh, it's not so good. We've all had that happen. That's what we're talking about today. That's what I want you to think about as a good analogy. So, in closing, you can invest in how you look. And you know what? I do, and you can too. But if you're not investing more in what you do, in what you know, in keeping yourself relevant in how you communicate, eventually it's going to show up. If you're not interested in reading, in training, in networking, in mentorship, at some point you're going to get left behind. Because people who understand the long game, they understand that this is part of the process. I know some very, very wealthy people, and in speaking to them and hearing what it is that they really believe leads to success, it's that you're constantly learning. You're constantly looking for new information. It's almost like a sponge that just absorbs the information, but we have to actually do something with it. It reminds me of children who have that curiosity. They want to learn, they want to learn more. And that is how, as adults, as business owners in the long game, we keep growing. We cannot possibly know everything. No matter how many degrees we have, we can't know everything. So align yourself with people who are a step or two or three or four above where you are. Ask them to be a mentor and do the same for others. Lend a hand for people who are coming up along the way. And as important as it is to look polished and professional, it is important. It's super important to back up what you say you can do. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you being here. If you are watching on one of our 2 YouTube channels, I would really appreciate it, and so would our team, if you would subscribe to USA Global TV and Radio and also Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Okay, and the other thing I want to share with you is that I have written a book. It's called Stop Giving Away Your Value, and it's available right now on Amazon, and it will be available very soon in fine bookstores. And the reason why I wrote it is because many times we have difficulty saying no. We have difficulty saying there is a cost to that. We have a difficulty saying, well, I do charge for this service, because we feel uncomfortable. So I want you to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. It's okay to say, this is the price. And if somebody doesn't like it, they can walk away, or they can counter, and you can decide what you want to do with it. So take a look at this. I'm going to be here when the video is over because I have a little more to share with you. And Stop Giving Away Your Value starts now.
How much of your value have you been giving away? Saying yes when the answer should have been no? Lowering your price to secure the opportunity? Giving more while receiving less? Over time, it adds up. Until one moment brings clarity, you've been giving away your value. This is not about working harder. This is not about doing more. It's about boundaries. It's about pricing. It's about respect. From Dr. JACALYN KERBECK comes a direct and necessary message. Stop over-delivering. Stop underpricing your expertise. Stop negotiating against yourself. Because when you recognize your value, everything changes. Stop giving away your value. Boundaries, pricing, and the business of respect. Available now wherever fine books are sold and on Amazon. A film by USA Global TV and Radio. Executive producer Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Videographer and cinematic production Paul Garcia. Voiceover by Ed Wargas. Stop giving it away. Start owning it.
Thank you so much for watching that. If you're interested, the link to order the book is in the show notes. Otherwise, you can go over to Amazon. You can just put in my name and you will see. I think I've published 27 books now, and all of them, except for one, have been #1 new releases or Amazon #1 best-selling books. Thanks for being here. Take care of yourself. And remember, you have everything you need inside you right now. You just have to tap into it and believe in yourself.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.